Hello, everybody. Hello. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Thursday, August 11th, 2022. And here are some of today's trends in the news. Woo! I'm all in red, white, and blue. I'm one of the most hated men around. You know that up here. Oh, yeah. The libtards don't like Salenti because he's an American patriot. Yeah, he believes in things like the Declaration of Independence. He believes in freedom, peace, and justice. Oh, he believes in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Why, that low-life guy. I'm a libtard and I swallow the shit that's thrown down my throat. And Salenti won't swallow the shit that I love to swallow. I look up to Fauci. I bow down to Cuomo. Oh, yeah, I look up to every piece of political crap that there is, as long as I believe in that political crap. How dare Salenti think for himself? I'm an American patriot. I fight for freedom, peace, and justice. And if we don't unite for it, we're going to die in war. Yep. Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Well, how about transgenders? How about people who don't know what they are? You're saying all men are created equal? That means everybody. Be who you want to be. Save it. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. What do you mean unalienable rights? I'm the governor. I'm little scumbag Cuomo. Oh, Salenti, calm down. Don't you yell. Close down your business. Go out of business because fuckface told you to. Unalienable. We got aliens taking our unalienable rights away from us. That they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life. What life? Take that vaccination. Take that vaccination. Oh, did the libtards hate me when I held a freedom peace rally when everybody was locked down in July of 2020. Yeah. What life? I'll tell you what your life is. I'm an authority. I'm your mayor. I'm your governor. I'm your president. You are just a piece of shit. So swallow my shit. I'm the politician. And we hate Salenti because he won't swallow the shit, because he's a true American. Believe what you want to believe. I don't tell you. The motto of the Trends Journal is think for yourself. How dare you think for yourself? That's misinformation. Why, that's sexist misinformation. And I want to get rid of being blackballed. That is really racist. Yeah. And blacklisted. How about whitelisted? Let's really be fucking stupid. Let's be an American of the lowest level that this country's sinking into. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No happiness allowed. It's a dirty word. Anyway, the stocks today. Stocks struggled for direction on Thursday as investors, what investors? A fucking crime syndicate, hedge funds, private equity groups, the whole fucking thing. A gang, gamblers. Mulled another better than expected inflation report. Anyway, investors received good economic news when the July producer price index showed a surprise decline from June. PPI dropped 0.5%, compared with an estimate of a 0.2% gain. Big deal. Ready? The reading follows an encouraging consumer price index for July. On Wednesday, the CPI came in at 8.5%. Slightly cooler than the 8.7% expected by analysts. 8.5% inflation rate. An 8.5% inflation rate. When you got interest rates at 2.25 or 2.50 basis points. 8.5%. Are your wages gone? Oh, and you look at John Williams' shadow stats, it's really double that. It's a 17% inflation rate because they don't put a lot of things in there that they don't want to. Inflation pace slows down as fuel costs ease. Another big story in today's Wall Street Journal regarding, what the markets did with inflation going down, or 2 days ago, or yesterday rather, Wednesday. All right. Goes on to say that grocery prices are up 1.3% in July from the prior month and rose 13.1% in July from a year ago. Oh, your wages didn't go up 13%? Oh, yeah, but gas prices went down. All right. So eat gas and blow it out your ass to be like the rest of the shitheads. It's the fastest annual pace since 1979. Elevated inflation is a byproduct of rapid growth in the U.S. when it rebounded from the COVID-19 pandemic, not from the pandemic, from the lockdowns by scumbag politicians, but they keep using this term, fueled in part by lower interest rates and government stimulus. Yeah, fueled in part? No, fueled totally. Zero interest rate policy and over $6 trillion dumped into it to artificially pump it up. And the Fed has been bullshitting that they were going to raise interest rates when the rate hit 2%. But Mexico raises key interest rates to highest ever as inflation accelerated. So now they have an interest rate of 8.5%. Wow, their inflation must be skyrocketing, way above America's 8.5%. Let's see how much it went up. Consumer prices jumped 8.15%. Hey, wait a minute. 8.15%? And you raised interest rates? And they're at 8.5%? And America's average inflation rate is probably about 8.8%, and you have a 2.25%, the game is rigged. They're doing everything they can to keep artificially propping it up. End of story. Grow the fuck up if you don't see it. Argentina raises key interest rates, you ready? To nearly 70%. Let's call it 69.5%. Its inflation surged in July to 71%. So they got a 71% inflation rate in July. Overall, it's about 70%, 69% when you average it out to the whole year. And they're about 1% over it. We have about an 8.8% annual inflation rate. And we only have a 2.25% inflation rate. And over there in the UK, they're looking for a 13% inflation rate this year, and they got under 2% interest rate. And we got a 2.25 interest rate. You got it. The game is rigged. Rising rates closer to annual inflation levels is part of the government's effort to encourage savers to stick with pesos. It's a key pillar of Argentina's $44 billion agreement with the International Monetary Fund, which calls for positive interest rates. Yeah, you borrow money from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. You got to raise your interest rates 1% above inflation. States and city pension funds suffer worst year since 2019. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll come back. It'll come back. Remember the shitheads throwing that crap out when they locked down everything? It'll come back. JP Morgan ex-traders convicted of fraud. Story probably almost buried in the paper. A lot of them didn't even cover it. They rigged the precious metals markets. Slap on the wrist. How come little Jamie Dimon's not in jail? How come all the other criminals in the JP Morgan Chase aren't being brought up on charges? 5 felony counts, according to, it's either 4 or 5. I don't want to go to jail on this. Alleged. No, real felony counts, at least 4. Convicted. They get a slap on the wrist. And I watched somebody out in front of my building last week with a state trooper woman go like this with the guys, making him sit down, walking like this, putting through a whole routine, and then letting him go after doing a breathalyzer test. That's America. America, the Soviet fascist state of America. The dictatorships locking us down, forcing us to do what they want. And again, the numbers, merger by the data, the merger of state and corporate powers that Mussolini called fascism. This is heartbreaking to me. I'm so sad. Domino's last Italian stores closed. The last Domino's Pizza Inc. franchise in Italy is closed. This was in every fucking newspaper, from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all over the news. How could any Italian eat Domino's shit? How can you be so stupid? Hey, you're not an American. Eat crap. WSP buys Environment Advisor for £591 million. Pfizer continues spree with $5.4 billion buy. Whirlpool to pay $3 billion to purchase incinerator. I mention this because the bigs keep getting big, and as this goes down, they're going to keep buying up more, and all we've become are plantation workers of Slavelandia. Lawmakers press Fed for digital dollar. Digital dollar, lawmakers, scumbags, shitheads, fuckfaces who never worked a day in their life. They've been sucking off the public tit. Political pieces of crap. Lawmakers. We don't need another law. We don't need another law. They're going digital so these fuck faces who never work can get all your money because they know where you spent it, how you spent it, what you spent it on, when you spent it, so they can get their taxes. And then they hire the bureaucrats, shitheads that never worked a day in their lives, that have been also sucking off the public tits so they can get free jobs. They're government employees. Venture capital's cash stockpile has swelled. We wrote about this a lot in this Trends Journal. A lot of people are going into cash. The bigs know where this is going. Again, go to trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. If you need to know what's going on, if you need to know what it means, if you need to know what to do, you really need the Trends Journal. Trendsjournal.com. The prices are going to be going up. I'm just letting you know. It's only now $2 a week. That's it. If you can't afford, the prices of groceries, what is a slice of pizza? $3.50? Oh, for Domino's shit? Oh, no, it's good pizza. How can you eat this crap? I went into, I'm looking for some light cotton socks. I couldn't find any around. I went to a Burlington coat factory up here. There's no coats. What shit they sold this place. And looking at the people, it was a blimp show. All the crappy clothes that people wear. I remember buying some real nice Italian jackets at Burlington Coat Factory. I remember some real good. Now people dress like shit, look like shit, and eat shit. It's a shit show. Okay, on to some geopolitical news. The comedian that used to play a sitcom in Ukraine, and his role was playing the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, who now became the president of Ukraine, quote, predicts when Ukraine conflict will end. Quote, this Russian war against Ukraine, against the whole of free Europe, began with Crimea, and it should end with Crimea. And now they say they just bombed the hell out of Crimea because they just destroyed about 9 top Soviet planes. But the line in here, the Russian war against Ukraine, against the whole of free Europe. It's not the whole of free Europe. This has been going on between Ukraine and Russia because now they want to take down the statue of Catherine the Great, and that goes back to only 1750. This is not about a war with Russia and Europe, but it's going into that, and it's becoming a world war. Crimea is Ukraine, and we'll never give up on it. Yep. We are constantly adding new components to the formula of liberating the peninsula. In response to that, Russia's former president, Medvedev, said, if Kiev really decides to use force against the peninsula, quote, the day of judgment will come to them all simultaneously, swift and hard. This is very important. Russia now controls at least $12.4 trillion worth of Ukraine's energy, metal, and mineral deposits. This is according to the Washington Post. They're losing the war. We're against the war. We said they should have negotiated for peace. And all America is doing and Europe is bloodying the killing fields in a war that is not going to be won. But here's the headline from the toilet paper record. You ready? How Russia exploits web to amplify its influence. America does none of that. None of that. Only Russians do. And very terrible, big story here in the toilet paper. Israel claims victory after reaching ceasefire with Gaza militia. Here's the leading paragraph. Israel and Palestinian militants in Gaza agreed to a ceasefire in a move that was expected to end a 3-day fight that killed dozens of Palestinians. It killed nearly 50 Palestinians, among them over 15 children and a large number of women. I don't know the exact number. They keep coming out with different numbers. But yet, this is the headline story in Tuesday's Wall Street Journal. New York Times. They show bodies going into this ditch here. Ukraine officers adding a civilian's body in May to a mass grave for those killed in fighting in eastern Ukraine, when the smell of death in a mass grave follows you home. How come you're not talking about the mass graves of the Palestinians? How about the thousands that Israel has killed? This was a preemptive strike. They didn't do anything. Yeah, but they were going to. And then you read the article. Again, no proof. Within Israel, the conflict also initially appeared to help burnish the credentials of Yair, however you spell his name, how to say it, Yair Lapid, Israel's interim prime minister. Another guy that was an actor that's now the prime minister. Again, it's a comedy show. Who has been long accused by critics in Israel of lacking the experience necessary to lead the country in times of war. So he started a war, killed innocent people. Biden applauded it, and so too did many in Congress. An actor. Yeah. 15 children. They didn't announce the women in here. And then there's a story down the bottom about the lack of hospitals in Israel, in Gaza, rather. And then EU admits it applies double standards to Ukraine and Palestine. The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, has admitted that double standards permeate international relations after being asked in an interview why Brussels is far more willing to support the people of Ukraine than the people of Gaza. Quote, "We are often criticized for double standards, but international politics is, to a large degree, about applying double standards." Politics? You mean scumbag fucks? Politics? How about human rights? We do not use the same criteria for all problems. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Palestinians don't count. We do not use the same criteria for all problems, right? Oh, yeah? How about Europe and NATO invading Libya, destroying the richest country in Africa to get rid of Gaddafi and turning it into a hellhole? How about that? That's okay. Oh, but not the Palestinians. No, they're not near Libya over there. They were in Africa. This is in the Middle East. Resolving the situation with those people trapped in an open-air prison, which Gaza is not, in the hands of the EU. Isn't that something? Yep. There's no solution to the Middle East conflict without a very strong commitment on the part of the United States. Dun, da, da, da. Dun, da, da, da. $3 billion of our money go to kill the Palestinians every year. That's right. Yeah. And Israel was Tel Aviv, I think, is one of the most expensive cities in the world. And don't call me an anti-Semite. Fuck off. I'm a man of peace. And these aren't Semites. They're Ashkenazi Jews running the show. Semites are from Mesopotamia region. Every prime minister has been an Ashkenazi. You ready for this headline? U.S. backs democracy in Africa where rivals have extended grasp. This Blinken boy, the little, I went to Dalton. I went to Harvard. Do you know who my daddy was? Yeah, that little ball is Blinken. A guy that loves war but never fights in one. Spews out that bullshit. American democracy. Oh, how many did you kill in Somalia? Oh, I forgot Mozambique. But don't forget that stuff. Oh, yeah. What about democracy? Oh, the freedom and democracy you brought to Afghanistan? No, the freedom and democracy you brought to Vietnam. No, the freedom and democracy in Korean War. No, the freedom and democracy in Iraq. No, the freedom and democracy in America, in Iraq, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, one after another. Oh, I forgot Haiti, Cuba, all over the Latin America. And they spew out this shit and people still swallow it. And that's why they don't like Celente, because he won't swallow their shit. U.S. insists it will operate near Taiwan despite China pressure. Isn't that great? So what if China was operating down in the Gulf of Mexico, off the coast of California, out in New York? Oh, that'd be fine. And bring the Russians and Venezuelans there too. Yeah. And the Iranians. More and more and more. We have a lot more. It'll be in your Trends Journal. A lot of stuff. But I just want to close with one thing here to show you how corrupt the whole system is. Political ad spending seen outpacing the 2020 cycle. Ad Impact, a company based just outside Washington, says in a report that total spending is on pace to reach close to $9.7 billion. That compares with about $4 billion in the 2018 midterm election cycle and about $9 billion in the 2020 cycle. 2020 was the presidential election, midterm. We're in midterms. The bigs control everything. They're in total control. The fat face over there in Illinois, the Pritzker boy from the Hyatt family, a billionaire putting in all his millions into run. And again, a billionaire giving money to the other guy running against him. This is Slavelandia. The rich run the whole show. We put in the Trends Journal all this thing about how the new laws, the new inflation bullshit thing that they just passed gave the hedge funds and private equity groups big tax cuts while we pay full taxes. The whole game is rigged. If we don't have a new system, we're finished. And I, Gerald Celente, a Napolitano, born in the Bronx, born to be free, will continue everything I can in the name of the Prince of Peace to fight for peace. And please do what you can do to support OccupyPeace.com, OccupyPeace.com, or FreedomPeaceJustice.com, FreedomPeaceJustice.com. If you don't do anything, go down with the ship. It's as simple as that. I'm so tired of people saying, what can I do? What can I do? Put your money in your heart where your mouth is. Don't do anything and live hell on earth, because that's where we're going. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to watch last night's Celente and the Judge with Judge Andrew Napolitano. What he has to say, no one's saying. And there's no judicial authority like him anywhere, any place. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon. From COVID war to Ukraine war to world war. Are you prepared for what's next? These are unprecedented times. What's next? What's going to happen? Read the Trends Journal. We have an unsurpassed track record of forecasting history before it happens. Subscribe to the Trends Journal. Read history before it happens. From the world leader in trend forecasting.